Number 39 Utopia has been one of my favorite boss monsters from the anime in recent years. This monster has been supported in many ways throughout the years, both through the various archetypes that Yuma used in the anime, as well as numerous other archetypes like Numeron, Utopic, Zexal servers, Zexal weapons, etc. With the newest support finally released in Brothers of Legend, here's an early deck profile to celebrate that. Okay, I would just like to point out that yeah, I'm using proxies because my box has not arrived yet, plus I don't really have access to my full collection right now. So yeah, it's still better than doing just an online deck profile, so keep that in mind. So we start things off with 3 Utopic Onomatopoeia. This card is always treated as a Zubaba, Dododo, Gogogo or Gagaga monster, and it can use its effect to special summon one of each from your hand. This is your main combo starter, and this is usually what your normal summon will be committed to. Up next we have 3 Zubaba Pancho Gagaga Coat. This monster can be special summoned from your hand if you control a Zubaba or Gagaga monster. And you can target a Gogogo or Dododo monster in your grave and special summon it. Next up, 2 Dododo Dwarf and Gogogo Glove. This monster can be special summoned from the grave if you control a Dododo or Gogogo monster. And you can special summon one Zubaba or Gagaga monster from your hand. So basically, as you realize, Glove and Coat are meant to bring each other out. Combine that with the fact that Onomatopoeia is there and can count as both, you can just special summon both for free. To search them, we ran 3 Onomatopoeia. This card allows you to discard 1 card and search up to 2, which is amazing, Zubaba, Gogogo, Gagaga or Dododo monsters. One of the main engines of the deck, which is amazing, and we also run 2 Onomatopoeia, which allows you to add one of the information monsters to your hand. It also has a secondary effect that can change the levels of all your monsters on the field to match one of those monsters, but it's not really necessary. This is the main Xyz engine of the deck, and this is the engine we want to use most of the time in order to get into Utopia and all of our other plays. Next up, we ran 3 Ascended Sage. Ascended Sage has the effect to special summon himself if you control no cards, and when he's used as an Xyz material for a Utopia monster, you can immediately search 1 rank up magic from your deck. And we pair him to 2 Armed Sage. This guy can special summon himself if you control only level 4 monsters, and when he's used as an Xyz material for a Utopia monster, adds a Zexal weapon to hand. We ran 2 of him because Zexal weapons are not as important as the rank up spell. The rank up spell is much more important and we need it. But speaking of Zexal weapons, we have 1 Lightning Blade and 1 Pegasus Twin Saber. Lightning Blade is basically protection from effects. It can protect your monster when it's about to die from an effect, and it has a better effect than Twin Saber because this monster can be equipped to a Utopia monster you control from hand, while Pegasus is a lot better because he's a monster negate, but you cannot equip him from your hand. You have to have 2000 life points or less, special summon him with his effect, and then equip him to a monster. So not the best, but you can get to this guy very easily with the new Xyz monsters, so we're good. Next up, we have 1 Zexal Construction to finish the Zexal engine. This card allows you to reveal 1 card in your hand, to add 1 Zexal weapon, Zexal Sage, rank up magic or rank down magic, or even a Zexal card, and then shuffle the reveal card in the deck. I only have 1 because frankly it doesn't come up that often. It was a dead draw a lot of times and I don't see the reason to run multiples. Next up, let's talk about extenders. 2 Astraltopia. Astraltopia is one of the new cards from the Brothers of Legend set, and I think it was in a promo in Japan or something. Whatever. Point is that this card can special summon itself when you have an Xyz on the field, and it can send 1 card from your field or hand to the grave, and it can add 1 Xyz, Onomat, Zexal, or number, spell, or trap directly to your hand. This guy is really cool because it allows you to search the new counter trap that we have, which is pretty decent. It's very interesting. The fact that he can send from the hand really saves the deck sometimes because you cannot afford to send cards from your field. Granted, the deck a lot of the times doesn't really have a hand, but that's secondary. We're moving on to his partner in crime, Astral Kuriboh. This card was definitely a promo, and I only ran 1 of him because he's not that needed. I think he's fine at 1, but 2 is too much. Basically, this guy has a very simple effect. Reveal 1 Xyz monster in your extra deck, special summon him, and make his level equal to that monster's rank rating. Very easy. Really cool card, and I really like him. And we also have 1 Gigantes. Both Coat and Glove are Earth monsters, so you can banish them for him. Plus, I ran Gallant Granite to actually search him, which is pretty neat. He actually helps with a little combo, which we'll talk about later. Now, let's talk about generic support. We have 2 Exchange Tactics. This card allows you to pay 500 whenever you summon a Utopia to draw 1 card. Really cool, basically enables the effect of Pegasus to activate, which needs you to be down 2000 life points. You just summon 4 Utopias and you're already good to go. You can just special summon Pegasus and equip him to a monster. Plus, this card continues to give you combo pieces, which can be really cool. I only ran the 2 because while testing, at 3 it was surprisingly cloggy. I didn't really need it. For me, right now, it works great at 2, but it's probably gonna be better if you run it at 3. We obviously have 1 Rota, everything in this deck is a warrior, so we need it. And next we have the rank up magics. First of all, we have the Hyper Rank Up Magic Utopia Force, and also the Rank Up Magic Zexal Force. Utopia Force allows you to rank up 1 Utopia monster into a rank 10 or higher Utopia, and when an Exist monster is summoned by the effect of a rank 10 or higher Utopia, you can equip this card from your graveyard to the new monster as an Exist material. This card is the main card you use to bring out the new guy, which we'll talk about later. Next up we have Rank Up Magic Zexal Force again, which is not as good, but it's a little bit less restrictive, because this card only rank ups your monster by 1 level, but it can be any monster, it doesn't have a Utopia monster. So you can use something like the new, Utopic Sage to go into the new rank 5, which we need and basically makes the deck. Plus, it has a secondary effect: if you have 2000 or less life points in your opponent, you can banish it to draw 1 card. Next up, we obviously run 1 Double or Nothing. This card is great because it can steal games out of nowhere, so we keep it. And this is a personal tech choice and a reminder that this is a more casual deck. I ran 1 Halfway to Forever, or as its original Japanese name is, Masterpiece. Basically, this card is like a Necrofusion, let's say. It allows you to special summon 2 monsters from the graveyard, and immediately after that, you can Exist summon on Utopia. Basically, you can just bring back 2 level 4s, make a Utopia, and keep going from there. It's a card which I personally really enjoy, and I really want to use in the deck. For the combo, it is not necessary. It's basically a win more card the way the deck runs right now, but it's just something I want to run for now. You obviously don't need to run this. If you want to run something else in its place, I suggest running 1 more of the next card I'm gonna talk about. 2 Forbidden Chalice. This card is very versatile right now and I prefer it over Droplets. Also, like I said, if you don't wanna run Masterpiece, you can just run a 3rd Forbidden Chalice. It's a very good card. I ran 1 Feathered Duster and 1 Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is great and mandatory in this deck because you can very easily lose to hand traps. Once again, a reminder that if this deck is more competitive, or when I actually make a more competitive deck, if you want to see that, you know what to do. But yeah, if you want to make the deck more competitive, you would definitely need to run Crossouts, either in the place of Called by or alongside it. Up next is the new counter trap, Numbers Protection, which is basically an Omni Negate if you control a number monster, and it can be reset back into your field when a number exists is destroyed by battle or card effect. The fact that it's searchable is pretty nice, and yeah, that's all there is to it. And then to round up the main deck, we run 3 Infinite Impermanence. It's probably the best hand trap right now in my opinion. I prefer it over anything else, and yeah, pretty cool card. Let's talk about the extra deck. First of all, we obviously have 3 Utopia, would not run without 3 of him. There have been a lot of times where I've almost run out like 2 turns into the game, so it is important to have him. Next up we have Utopia Double, which is probably the most versatile card in the deck, because this card can single-handedly either steal games with Double or Nothing, or can just rank himself up to the new guy, which we'll talk about, which basically makes the whole deck function right now. It is amazing, and I love this card, simple as that. Next, we have Material Fodder, in the form of 2 Chaos Number Utopia Ray. This card is necessary because you go into a number 39, you Exist Chains into this guy, and then you rank him up into the new guy, because the new guy requires 2 materials to activate his effects. This way you have 2 extra materials for another activation. Or, you know, you can also use that whenever you go into Utopia the Lightning, but yeah, Utopia the Lightning doesn't come up as often from testing, but, you know, it is still a very, very good card. Also, the only reason I have 2 of these is because he's just my favorite. He's literally here as a material folder, so it doesn't matter, you can run Utopia Prime if you want, but for me it doesn't make a difference. I just prefer him. I need to get a ghost of this, by the way. That card is so cool. Now let's talk about the higher ranks of Utopia. First of all, one Chaos 39 Utopia Ray V and one Utopia the Lightning. I already talked about Utopia the Lightning. It's one of the best Exist monsters in the game. Just destroy anything you want and a lot of times win the game through that. As for Utopia Ray V, shockingly, it came up a lot of the times where I needed to pop something. This card was a lot better to rank up into than Lightning because I can just detach one material, destroy one monster on the field, and burn my opponent. A lot of times this baits out negations, and that's amazing. If not, you just start clearing your opponent's board, which is really cool. Plus, this card can recycle Utopias when he dies, which is pretty neat. Now let's talk about the main new cards for the set. First of all, Ultimate Leo Utopia Ray. This card is always treated as a Chaos 39 Utopia Ray, and this card reads: you can detach one material from this card, equip one Zexal weapon from your deck to this card. That's a quick effect that cannot be negated. When this card is equipped with a Zexal weapon, quick effect, you can target one monster your opponent controls, negate its effects, and half his attack. So this card is insane. Combine it with the Pegasus Saber, and you've got 2 monster negates, plus by halving your opponent's monster attack, you have even more OTK potential. Utopia is a deck that really punches hard. Really great card, and that's the main reason we want the other weapons, because if you equip him with the 2 other weapons, this monster becomes 4700, and he cannot be destroyed by card effects once, and he has double effect negation. That is insane. I love it. But how do we bring him out? Obviously with the newest card from Brothers of Legend, number 99 Utopia Dragonar, the new form of number 99, which literally makes this deck right now. This card reads: quick effect, detach 2 materials from this card. Special summon one number between 1 and 100 from your extra deck. So, if you realize the combo, you basically rank up with the Hyperforce into this guy, then this guy summons out Leo Arms, and the rack up magic becomes a material to Leo Arms. You immediately detach it, add Sabers on him, and you're good to go. You got 2 negates, just like that. Awesome. But that's not even the best of it. Granted, the turn you do this, you cannot attack directly with other monsters, but most of the time it will not matter because you are going first, but in the off chance you're going second and you want to do big damage, that is not the way to go. Keep that in mind. But do you know the best thing about this card? Then, on your opponent's turn, on their standby, because this card has a quick effect, you can remove the 2 extra materials that you have to bring out another number. Number 38 specifically. Meaning that this guy can single-handedly turn an empty board into a double monster negate plus a spell negate before your opponent had a chance to play, which is awesome. And it's even funnier because when you summon him, the Racket Magic will activate and it will equip itself on him again, and then you have a very funny combo between these two. Because if your opponent decides to attack something, you can use the effect of number 38, detach a material to force your opponent to attack him, and use the effect of Dragonar, which can make your opponent's monster attack 0, which means that if your opponent doesn't realize that, they can end up taking 3k to the face without even realizing. It is amazing. But we still have some slots left open in the extra deck, which I dedicated to a different combo line, let's say. First of all, 1 Gallant Granite and 1 Zexal Server's Utopic Sage. So, Gallant Granite is pretty simple. You can use him to search either Gigantes or Gloves. And Utopic Sage has a very interesting effect. Detach 2 materials from this card. Special summon 1 Zexal Server's or Zexal weapon from your deck. So basically, you use these 2 monsters one after the other. If you handle your materials correctly, you can end up summoning both of them by one of them bringing out the extra body that you need. Either Granite will search Gigantes and you get an extra body, or Zexal Sage will bring out an extra body and you go into Granite. But why is that important? Because you do all that, and then you overlay them into our secondary engine. F-Zero Utopic Future and F-Zero Utopic Draco Future. I had to run this. This card is stupidly good. Seriously, why is this card so fucking expensive? Come on. This card can single-handedly shut down your opponent sometimes, and it is amazing. I've stolen one too many Alistairs with this card. I love it. Granted, most of the times you actually go into F-Future is because you have extra materials and you can actually dedicate the space to going into him as well. So, you know, that is pretty damn good. And I would like to add some ideas that I have for the deck. First of all, if you want to make it more competitive, which we'll see in the next profile, like I said, you know what to do about that, is that you probably need Zeus, something that I honestly couldn't really fight space in this deck. Zeus is really damn good, but the way this deck functions, I don't think is necessary, because the deck is meant to OTK, so I'm not sure if Zeus is necessary for that. Like I mentioned, we need Crossout, and probably targets for that, like Ash or Veiler, because this deck hard loses to Effect Negation and Ash. It is a very fragile deck, but it's still really explosive and really fun. Now, other ideas that can support this deck. First of all, I saw some builds that actually run Aspiration, I think is his name, which has the effect to detach 3 materials to search any monster from your deck, which means that you can do this to basically search out Astraltopia, which is one of the main goddamn issues with Astraltopia and Astral Kuriboh. They are not searchable, that's why we run them at 2. The way the deck runs right now, it just doesn't fit. And other than that, some interesting tech choices. 2 Zexal weapons that can be really fun to use against certain opponents. Sure, a strike, it gives your monster 1000 and it can attack any monster your opponent controls. It can be really useful against some decks that just swarm the field and just leave small monsters out. And then we have Eagle Claw, which unfortunately has the same stupid restriction as Twin Saber, but basically what this card does is that it makes your monster immune to trapped monsters, which is amazing because, let me tell you, I faced Altergeist more than once while testing. That is a very rough matchup, very rough. And there's also Tornado Bringer, which unfortunately is not that good anymore because Tornado Bringer protects from battle, and frankly I doubt that 4700 attack Utopia will lose the battle, just pointing that out. So anyway, that is the deck profile, guys. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I am really excited to eventually get this deck in my hands, and I hope you enjoyed the profile as well. Like I said, I'll probably do a more competitive list at some point, hopefully soon. Stay tuned for that. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Adios!